Hi. Now in today's class we will go through the topic digestion and the types of digestion, right? Before this video lecture we have already been introduced to digestion, right? And we've seen what is nutrition, what are the types of nutrition. There we have understood what is basically what digestion means, right? So now digestion, when we talk about digestion, we talk digestion of food, right? What we digest is food. Normally we talk about digestion of food in our daily life, right? So we need to understand what is food, right? First of all, why do we need to digest food, right? And what our daily diet consists of, right? So first thing is your food, right? In the previous video lecture also we have discussed that food consists of organic compounds, right? Whatever we eat living beings, right, and non-living beings. And I'm sorry, not non-living beings, we eat living beings, right? Living things like plants and animals, right? And we know that all living things are made from organic compounds, right? So what we eat is nothing but organic compound. Now we need to look into what type of organic compounds does food contain, right? So food, right, is nothing but food consists of food that we eat is nothing but living things, right? Which consists of your plants, vegetables and animals, right? And we know that all living beings are organic compounds. All living beings are organic compounds, and organic compounds are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen in some cases, but mostly they are made up of carbon and hydrogen, right? But we know that carbohydrates like glucose, right, it has oxygen, right? And there are many amino acids that has nitrogen in its molecule, right? So these are organic compounds. Now we need to look into what type of organic compounds does food contain, right? So types of organic compounds that food contains is carbohydrates, right, fats, proteins, right? Majorly these things, right? Carbohydrate, fats, proteins. Then we have nucleic acids as well, because we eat living things, right? And we know that living things contain cells, and cells contain DNA and RNA, right? So it has nucleic acids, right? And in our diet, in addition to carbohydrate, fats, proteins, nucleic acid, we also have small amount of vitamins and minerals. We should have small amount of vitamins and minerals, because deficiency of these vitamins and minerals can cause human diseases, right? So we have vitamins, right, minerals also, right? Now we need to understand which of these foods, right, we need to digest, right? And what exactly we mean when we say we need to digest food, right? And which of these doesn't require digestion. So carbohydrates, fats, proteins and nucleic acids, all these, if you remember, we have a chapter called as biomolecules, right? We know that all these are made up of smaller molecules, right? These are bigger molecules. These are all made up of smaller molecules. Like we know that carbohydrates are made up of monosaccharides, right? Fats are made up of fatty acids, simple fatty acids, right? And glycerol. Proteins are made up of amino acids, right? nucleic acids are made up of nucleotides, right? And vitamins and minerals, these are small molecules, right? These are small molecules, right? These are macromolecules, right? Carbohydrates, fats, proteins, right? Nucleic acids, all these comes under macromolecules. We call these as macromolecules, means bigger molecules. We also call them as biomacromolecules, right? And vitamins and minerals that is in our diet consist of small molecules, right? Now, why do we need to digest food, right? And or which of the components do we need to digest, and why do we need to digest? Carbohydrate, fats, proteins, nucleic acid, as we said, they are complex organic compounds. They are complex or bigger molecules, right? So these molecules needs to be broken down into simpler molecules or smaller molecules, right? And why they needs to be broken down into simpler molecules? Because our body needs to digest the food, or our body needs to absorb the food, right? Then only we can obtain energy from food, because basically why we eat food? To obtain energy, right? Now, in order to absorb food, the food cannot be absorbed in its original form, that is carbohydrate, fats, proteins, nucleic acid, because these are complex compounds that cannot be absorbed by our body system, right? So these needs to be broken down into simpler molecules, right? That can be absorbed by our body and our cells, right? Once these simpler molecules are absorbed by our cells, these simpler molecules will undergo oxidation, right, to produce energy, ATP, right? Because we know that energy is produced in the form of ATP, and ATP is the storehouse of energy, right? So all these molecules, right, all these macromolecules needs to be broken down into simpler molecules, right? When we say that these macromolecules needs to be broken down into simpler molecules, it simply means that we need to break down these bigger molecules into the molecules from which they are made up of. Like carbohydrates are made up from monosaccharides, right? So we need to digest carbohydrates into, or we need to break down carbohydrates into monosaccharides, right? Similarly, fats needs to be broken down into fatty acids, proteins into amino acids, nucleic acid into nucleotides, and these can be absorbed. Vitamins and minerals can be absorbed directly by our body, right? Because they are small molecules, right? So we would be breaking down these molecules into small molecules, right? And these small molecules, right? These small molecules which are amino acids, nucleotides, fatty acids and monosaccharides, these are the nutrients. We call these as nutrients, right? So food provides us nutrients by the process of digestion, and these nutrients would be absorbed by our body, right? So this is it. Now we said that these macromolecules needs to be broken down into simpler molecules, right? How they would be broken down into simpler molecules? By our complex digestive system, by our complex gastrointestinal tract, GI tract, right? This breakdown of complex molecules into simpler molecules is done by our GI tract, right? So GI tract will break down macromolecules which are carbohydrate, fats, proteins into simple molecules. Into simple molecules, right? So once, how it happens, if we look into the digestive system, once we ingest food, right, the first step would be ingestion, right? Ingestion means when you take in food in your mouth, what you do is first the food undergoes mechanical breakdown. Mechanical breakdown is when we eat food, when we break food with our teeth into smaller pieces, right? That is your mastication. You call it as mastication when bigger food particles are broken down into smaller ones, right? So in ingestion, first thing is your mastication, right? Where bigger particles are broken down into smaller particles, right? The second thing would be in ingestion. The second thing would be your moistening the food, right? The food is, when the food is inside our mouth, the food would be moistened with salivary secretions, right? It would be moistened with saliva. You can say that's with saliva or salivary secretions, right? Then once the food is broken down into smaller particles, it's moistened with saliva, then we swallow it, right? So the third thing is in ingestion is swallowing, right? This swallowing is known as degglutination, right? We call this as degglutination, right? Swallowing is degglutination. Now once you swallowed the food, right, the food enters the food pipe, right, which is your alimentary canal, right? Now food is entering into our alimentary canal. Alimentary canal is nothing but the food pipe that starts from our mouth and ends into the other end, which is your anus. So this alimentary canal extends from mouth till the anus, right? So the second step would be ingestion. Then you have your, once it travels down through your food pipe, once the food swallowed, then it travels down through the food pipe into your complex digestive tract, right? So here you have now digestion, right? And we have understood here what is digestion, and this GI tract will break down macromolecules into simple molecules. That is, this GI tract will assist in digestion, right? GI tract will do digestion, right? So in this thing, what will happen is the food swallowed will be pushed, right? Food will be pushed into the digestive tract, right? Through, if you look into the food pipe, if you look into the diagram, the food pipe will undergo expansion and contraction. Now through this expansion and contraction, food pipe or GIT tract will move the food in the forward direction, right? So, and this movement of food, right, through this process of contraction and expansion, right, of the GIT tract is known as peristaltic movement, or peristalsis we call it, right? So digestion is, food is broken down into smaller particles, right, by the action of GIT and then degraded by digestive enzymes, right? Once the food, right, will go into GIT tract, right? In GIT tract, food would be broken down into simpler molecules, right? And then it will also undergo chemical reaction, right, with various enzymes that are secreted by body organs like pancreas, liver, right? Pancreas will secrete pancreatic juice, liver will secrete bile that will help digestion of fats, right? Similarly, we have intestinal juice that would be secreted. So all these juices inside our body organs, or the juices that are secreted by our body organs, contains digestive enzymes. And what are digestive enzymes? That assist in digestion. When we say will assist in digestion, that means it will help in the breakdown of complex molecules into simple molecules, or bigger molecules into smaller molecules, right? So this breakdown of food into smaller molecules would be this. We say this would be catalyzed by digestive enzymes, right? And it's these digestive enzymes that will break down bigger molecules, macromolecules, into simpler molecules, right? So this is important, right? Because in future or the lectures we would be looking into each step, right? When food enters into stomach, right? From esophagus, then it goes into duodenum, then it goes into small intestine, large intestine. At each organ, right, what all changes will occur in the food, or how food will be broken down into smaller food particles, or simple how food is broken down into simple molecules, right? So now this breakdown, right, as we discussed, that this breakdown of bigger particles into smaller particles would be done by digestive enzymes, which are secreted by our body organs, right, which is your liver, your pancreas, and your small intestine, right? We would be discussing this in future lectures, right? Now this is it. And one small thing that you need to understand is this is okay. Once this food is digested, right, once it is digested or catalyzed by digestive enzymes, and then it's broken down into simple molecules, right? Simple molecules are these molecules: fatty acids, amino acids, right, monosaccharides. Then it will undergo absorption, right? So it will undergo absorption by GIT tract, right? Now after breakdown, now the food is in a form, right, that can be absorbed by our body and our body cells, right? Once it's absorbed by our body cells, then it will undergo assimilation. Assimilation is where where these simple molecules would be absorbed by our body cells, and inside the body cells they will undergo cellular oxidation to produce energy. And so assimilation is where these simple molecules would be absorbed by our cells and will undergo cellular oxidation to produce energy, right? And if you recall, cellular oxidation, you might have studied in previous chapters. If you have done, there is something known as glycolysis and citric acid cycle, right? Glycolysis and citric acid cycle. Glycolysis will help break down simple glucose molecules. That's carbohydrates will break down into simple glucose molecules, and glucose molecules will undergo decomposition by the process of glycolysis to produce ATP molecules, which is the storehouse of energy. ATP molecules are energy, that gives us energy, right? Then there is citric acid cycle also, that we would not be discussing in this chapter, but just to let you know. Then after the food is absorbed, assimilated, then the undigested food, right, which is the food residue, that would be pushed into the anus and it will come out through the anal opening. That is egestion. Egestion will take place, right? Egestion of undigested food, right? So elimination from body of undigested food material, right? Elimination of undigested food material is your egestion. So now in future lectures we would be looking into detail of ingestion, mastication, right? First, when we take in the food in the buccal cavity, all these processes, mastication, right, moistening of food with saliva, then you're swallowing, right? So when you swallow food, it will go through the different organs. We would be looking into detail what all these organs it will pass through, right? Then it undergoes digestion. I said that digestion means it will come in contact with various juices secreted by our body, right? These juices contain digestive enzymes that will help to break down bigger molecules, that is macromolecules, into simple molecules, right? Once they are broken down into simple molecules, right, we would be looking this into detail, right? How it undergoes when it comes into contact, when food comes in contact with different body organs. Then it will undergo absorption, right, by our blood and body cells. Then it will undergo assimilation to produce energy. Then finally egestion. Right? We would be looking into like which organ the food is in when it undergoes egestion, right, and how it exactly takes place. We would be looking into all these things in detail. Now vitamins and minerals. This is important. Vitamins and minerals will not undergo this process, right? Because why we are looking into why this carbohydrate, fats and proteins undergone this process, because they are big molecules which cannot be absorbed by our system, by our body system, right? So they needs to be broken down into simple molecules, right? So they will undergo digestion, digestion, right, and finally absorption, right? These bigger molecules will undergo ingestion, digestion and finally absorption. But these simple molecules, vitamin and minerals, can be directly absorbed by our body because they are small molecules, right? So they do not need to undergo digestion. And what are these vitamins and minerals? Vitamins and minerals we need in our diet, right, in small amounts. If our diet is deficient of vitamin and minerals, then it may cause human diseases, right? Now if we talk about vitamins, vitamins are again organic compounds, right? These are organic compounds like vitamin B1, right? Then you have vitamin B6. There are various types of vitamins that is there, right? And deficiency of these vitamins can cause human diseases, right? Let's just look into some of the vitamins that can cause issues, right? Because vitamins, we normally talk about vitamins in our daily life, right? And from where we get these vitamins, right? From food, right? From the food, eggs, milk, or right? And like vitamin B1 that I'm talking about, it's thiamine, right? We get it from wheat. The common sources of vitamin B1 is your wheat, germ, peanuts, beans, right? These are the sources of vitamin B1, and its deficiency will cause beriberi. Yet you can get it from wheat and peanuts. You get vitamin B1 from wheat and peanut, right? Not from eggs and all. And the deficiency will cause a disease known as beriberi. Similarly, you have, and this is known as thiamine. Vitamin B1 is also known as thiamine. Then there is another vitamin B2. Vitamin B2 is your riboflavin. Vitamin B2 is your riboflavin, right? And deficiency of riboflavin will cause eye inflammation, right, and lip sores. Vitamin B12, you can get it from this vitamin B12, we can get it from milk, right? The sources are milk, Then you have a liver. You can get it from cheese, right? You can get it from cheese as well. And the deficiency of this will cause eye inflammation, right? And lip sores, right? So we need vitamins in small amounts in our daily diet. Similarly, minerals are sodium, calcium, right? Magnesium, cobalt, iron. All these metals are minerals. Chlorine. All these are minerals, right? And we need minerals in our daily life, in our daily diet. I'm sorry, right? These are important. And the deficiency of minerals again will cause human diseases. For example, deficiency of iron will cause, we know that it will cause anemia. Anemia is your blood level or your hemoglobin level is less. When what we normally say is that blood is less in this person when he is anemic. So what exactly we mean by that is that hemoglobin is less. Your hemoglobin level is less than normal if a person is anemic, right? And deficiency of iron can cause the hemoglobin level to go down, right? And if you want to know more about this, what is this hemoglobin? If you look into the structure of hemoglobin is consists of an iron, right? It consists of an iron atom with porphyrin ring. It's a porphyrin ring structure where it has pyrrole rings around it, right? So since hemoglobin is made from it's a porphyrin ring structure, right? That has iron in the center of it, in the hemoglobin structure. So deficiency of iron can cause deficiency of hemoglobin, right? Because hemoglobin is made from iron, right? And it is this iron that takes oxygen throughout the body, right? So less iron means less hemoglobin, right? So less hemoglobin means the capacity of blood to carry oxygen throughout the body will go down, right? Because it is finally iron that attaches oxygen and let it circulate in the entire body. So less iron means less oxygen available to various body parts that can cause diseases, right? Now we are done almost with the digestion, right? Now we have two types of digestion, right? First is the intracellular. When we say intracellular, it means within cell. The second is the extracellular. Extracellular means outside the cells, right? And this is inside the cell, right? Some organisms like hydra and protozoans, right? Intracellular means digestion will take place inside the cell, right? Digestion will take place inside the cell. How it occurs? Some organisms like protozoans and hydra, they will engulf food by the process of endocytosis into the cell, right? Where this inside the cell you have enzymes, right? Enzymes that will help digest the food particles, right? Like here, normally in our case that we have discussed here is your extracellular digestion that happens outside the cells in digestive tract, right? That is your extracellular digestion that we have just discussed. Intracellular is when digestion takes place within the cell, right? And within the cell we have enzymes that will help break down or that will help to digest the food, right? And this food is taken inside the cell by a process of endocytosis, right? Once it is inside the cell, the enzymes inside the cell will help digesting the food, right? So just remember, intracellular, intra means within the cell, and just remember there is a process called endocytosis that occurs. Then proteins inside the cell, by the process of endocytosis, food is engulfed inside the cell, right? Where it will react